All right, fact check this podcast, and tonight I am joined by my morning show, the morning after co-hosts, Dag and Clyde, and then on on par for usual. Clyde is running late, so it'll just be me and Dag to start us out. Dag, kind of introduce yourself for the small handful of people who listen to this show but don't actually watch the morning show, and let people know what all you got going on and where they can find you and some of the other stuff that you do, and then we'll kind of jump into it. And maybe by the time you finish up, Clyde will be stumbling in.
All right, plugs up top. We'll get it out of the way. I'm Dag. I do stuff over at Agorism, Texas. I co-host a podcast over there. I write an article from time to time, but I don't have that kind of brain. I'm a small farmer. I wish I made a full-time living at it, but we're working towards that. And then I don't know, man. I also run Agorist Acres, so we sell seeds. If you want to buy some seeds, you can pay with crypto. Come on over, check us out. If you want anything and I don't have it, shoot me an email. I'll get it for you, et cetera, et cetera.
See, that's perfect because the seed stuff was kind of what I wanted to take on at the top of the show, because it is getting to be about that time of year where people are going to start the hobby gardeners are going to start getting ready to put their own gardens out. And, anytime you go to like Walmart or Rural King, Lowe's, Home Depot, they've got all the, they've got the big racks that have all the seeds on them. And one of the things that you always see on the rack are the ones that are labeled organic, as if buying these organic seeds. Oh, there's Clyde. So,
hey, not bad. 3 minutes. Cool.
That's impressive.
I had to wrap it up.
Oh,
so
no.
Are we actually talking about stuff on this show?
Well, we were getting ready to, but since you came crashing in, you can turn your vibrator off. All
right.
Since you came crashing in, I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell everybody the handful of people who watch this show but don't actually watch our show. Tell them who you are and what you do, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. My name's Clyde. I don't do a whole lot of too much. And I don't know. I'm on this other show on the morning with these clowns, and there's more clowning.
There is clowning.
Clowning. This was the other show we'd talk about Aqua Teen Hunger Force and the clowning and how good that show is. But I don't know. I like to grow things. I have, I've done the meat birds. Dag really kind of egged me on with that. No pun intended. I don't know meat birds eggs, but
well, they're meat birds, so technically.
But I think between talking to him and I'm not sure if I did my first batch before I started talking with you or not, but since then it's kind of getting ideas from him, bouncing ideas off him. We got the goats going, and we milked a meat goat last year because we had a bottle baby and figured we might as well milk her. And this year we have our dairy goats that we're about to start milking. And just kind of all around trying to get it done as much as I can. I've always kind of been that way. So I don't know.
Very cool. Well, so Dag had mentioned doing seeds, and so what I was kind of starting to lead into was, it's about the time of year that people start getting out and starting their own gardens and stuff like that. And anytime you go to Walmart, Rural King, Lowe's,
I can grow
Lowe's and Home Depot. Yeah, if only. Lowe's and Home Depot. You get the racks with all the seeds on them, and you always see the seeds that are labeled as organic, and they're always more expensive. And it always cracks me up, because as if all the other seeds are like genetically modified and going to kill you or something. And what really always cracks me up is a lot of the stuff that's marked as organic, there aren't even genetically modified breeds out there yet for like 80% of those. It really kind of cracks me up. So let's kind of talk about seeds and the gardening, that kind of that side of stuff, and also the organic labeling that gets put on stuff, and the process for how that happens, because we had talked about it on the morning show one time, like very, very briefly. So I wanted to get into that a little more in depth.
I think if you're looking to buy seeds, I think the first thing that you want to look at is whether it's a hybrid or an open pollinated plant. Open pollinated just means that the seed that plant produces when it crosses with itself will be true to form, and you can save those seeds and plant them next year. If it's a hybrid, there's no telling what you're going to get. To me, that is worth so much more than an organic versus a non-organic seed. Now, if you're talking GMOs, I don't know, maybe I'm not convinced. I don't really want Monsanto knocking on my door, but that's a whole other side of it.
Yeah. I definitely agree in that regard. I guess the only thing that I could say about like what a possible benefit could be of having like an organic seed. So, okay, that means the plant was grown organically. It wasn't sprayed with a bunch of chemicals or what have you. So, I don't think that's going to affect your end product, right? You buy a broccoli seed and the plant might have had some pesticides on it, and you grow a broccoli plant, you're probably safe. Now, I guess you can make the argument that if you just want to ensure that the way it was grown was, let's say better for the planet, then you might prefer an organic seed. But that's the only real benefit that I see to it. I stock some organic seeds, but it just depends on the price. Sometimes the price is a very small difference to buy something that's organic. So it's well, why not?
Yeah.
Some people prefer it. And honestly, if I have the option, sure, why not? But yeah, really, like he said, you just need to be careful. You're getting hybrids, and a lot of times hybrids can be great, for a purpose. But if you're trying to save seed, you really need to be aware of that.
Yeah,
and you still can. You can still grow from seed. It just might be a little wonky.
Yeah, I did that before. I crossed some different squash with other squash and tried to grow things out. And some of it worked, some of it didn't work, and it was kind of interesting what happened. But man, there's something I was gonna say. Oh yeah, if it's the same price, I guess I'd probably grow organic seeds. But I wonder when beans, right? Bean seeds usually come treated to help kind of, I don't know if it keeps the fungus off them or what it does, but they usually come treated, and it helps growth. I wonder if there's an organic treatment, or are all organic bean seeds untreated? I wonder. Do you guys have any idea?
I didn't know that bean seeds were all treated.
As a kid growing up, that was always what we had, was just a treated kind. I think usually
really?
Conventional type used to be. Now I don't know. Maybe they're getting away from that. I don't know.
Well, there's the there's the inoculants that you can put on beans.
Yeah.
That's help. Is that what you're talking about?
That's what
okay. About, yeah. So typically a lot of seed shops, they'll sell inoculants that you can buy, and you're supposed to match the inoculant to the type of bean. But yeah, you put that on the bean seed, you soak it overnight, and then when you plant it, it's supposed to help with the nitrogen fixing aspect of the beans. Where they pull the nitrogen out of the air, put it in the soil. It's supposed to help them do that better. But anytime I've done it, it's been a separate thing where I've actually had to do the action of inoculating them. I wouldn't mind pre-inoculated seeds, to be honest.
Yeah, I wonder if the inoculant is itself organic.
I think it's considered organic. Because I'm pretty sure that organic growers do that, use the inoculant. Yeah. So it's been a minute since I've used it, but I'm pretty sure it was OMRI certified, which is, we can talk about that at some point tonight, but the certifying agency for organic products.
Well, yeah, that's actually what I wanted to have. We've got one of our friends of the morning show is joining us this evening.
Is Magoo over in Russia tonight, helping fight the good fight? Got this time switched around.
He's fighting the good fight closer to Atlanta, so probably a lot more action to be found where he is than over in the Ukraine, I would imagine. But yeah, I did want to get into that, some of the certifying stuff and the way that organics are able to get the label that they get. So my background, I think we may not have, but I came from the grain elevator side of stuff.
You're a redneck, right? Mechanical redneck.
Yeah. So I ran grain elevators all over the country for many years. And one of the big things that we had was white corn and yellow corn non-GMO, and all of the very specific testing and stipulations and the way you had to handle that, as opposed to the way you handled regular GMO corn or just non-certified corn. And the really weird part about that is there are pretty strict limitations on how much genetically modified corn can be in your non-GMO corn for it to still qualify. But like, there's always genetically modified in that corn. Like it you have a certain grace period. None of it is 100%. So that always kind of struck me as funny. And then the uses that they have for the non-GMO versus the GMO, there's, unless you had it tested, there's literally no way you would ever know a difference. It,
Can I get non-GMO ethanol?
Artisanal
See?
ethanol.
Yeah. My car only rides on this expensive smell-o-verse.
The thing is, like, a certified non-GMO grower is never going to sell their corn to the ethanol plant, period. Like, because they have so much in it, they have to get those non-GMO premiums, otherwise it's not worth it for them. So like,
do they still get like the government subsidies for the non-GMO corn?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure they have to, right?
Yeah.
No, the ethanol subsidies dried up, and that's why you stopped seeing the push for ethanol, like you saw. I don't know how much y'all were involved with that side of the business, or that side of the agricultural industry, but like from 2005-ish going forward, there was a big governmental push for more ethanol, specifically corn-based ethanol, which was quite possibly the most retarded thing that they could have done, because corn-based ethanol is one of the least efficient forms of ethanol on the planet. For some reason, the U.S. government got it in their mind that they needed to push that. So there were huge subsidies both for ethanol plants. There was huge subsidies both for the ethanol plants and for corn growers in producing more corn and producing corn-based ethanol. But that dried up in 2015, I want to say, and at that time, then you started to see corn prices on the Chicago Board of Trade and the Kansas City Board of Trade start to come back down and level out and get back to like normal pre-2005 levels. And like they're up now, but that's because like right now all commodity prices have gone up because the stock market in general has gone up so much. Like right now the commodity markets are riding the stocks because everything and riding inflation. So like because everything is getting so expensive, the price of corn and soybeans and wheat are also going up. But it's not like when it was going up from 2005 through 2015 and 16, it was strictly being driven by the subsidies and the ethanol program, not by actual like supply and demand type of stuff. So yeah,
I remember that.
It was an interesting time to be in the business.
Straight retarded. Like, let's turn food into fuel. Let's turn really a feed-heavy food, right? Corn just beats the hell out of soil, and the amount of fertilizer and water that it takes, you got to put on it. Let's turn that into fuel, because that's better for the environment than, these fossil fuels that run in these cars that we've. I mean, how efficient are these cars now? Like, I mean, really shut up. Like, I was appalled. I remember.
So you want to know what the craziest part of that was? The ethanol companies, like the ethanol plants, they were expected and required to produce so much ethanol almost all fuel is at least 10% ethanol at this point. So they were required to produce so much ethanol to keep those rates up, so that all gas in the United States can be a minimum of 10% ethanol. Well, corn is a ridiculously inefficient way to make ethanol. So they were actually importing sugarcane based corn or sugarcane based ethanol from South America for cheaper than what they could produce the ethanol from corn in the U.S. And it's like, and they when they make the ethanol from the sugarcane in South America, that's after the sugarcane has been processed. So they use the silage from the sugarcane to make ethanol. Instead, here in the U.S., we're using the actual corn to make, like, it is the most inefficient and wasteful process on the planet, and yet somehow the federal government thinks that that's a good idea. Like, if that doesn't tell you anything else, like, or that should tell you everything that you need to know about the federal government having anything to do with energy policy, is that they took good food grade corn and turned it into fuel when you could take the trash that's left over from the food grade corn and make a more efficient fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the goal was just to get rid of the corn, though. You know, it wasn't to make an efficient fuel. It's like, hey, you know, we've been subsidizing this corn, you know, so you know, maybe it's just a way to get rid of the corn. Well, let's burn it. You know, let's put it in our gas tanks and burn it.
It's a hell of a business plan if you're like a on the corn, you know,
Corn lobby.
if you're in that industry, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guaranteed somebody's going to buy my crop beyond just food. I have this other resource, this other source that it can go to. Like, it keeps everybody happy, and it creates, you know, this sort of false sense of demand for more corn. You know,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I can go get into corn farming, and I probably get some grants if I'm like a black woman or a white woman or any sort of female. I can get more grants and more money, and you know, it's just, and then it all fell, and here we are today. And,
well, like 60% of our food is corn. Like they've
Yeah,
crammed as
God.
much corn as they can into our food already.
I know,
Like, all right,
I know.
you know, just drive it away. But yeah, definitely ridiculous. And I mean, it's great, like, economics lesson, like a basic economics lesson for anybody to, like, you know, just look at this situation, and like, this is why government getting involved in subsidies is either just blundering stupidity, or more likely it's some sort of like cronyism, you know, as a way to, you know, spread money around and, you know, just use up commodities.
But so anyway, I told all of that to kind of segue into the government being involved.
We tangent. We took your
Yeah,
segue to a
yeah.
tangent. Yeah, we're good
So
at that.
But we can
using
talk about
that
corn, man.
to lead into the government and the way that they manage and handle classifying organics, because that is kind of, that system is kind of insane in and of itself. So, and I know, Dag, you have some experience with that, so you want to talk about that, and let's kind of
Sure.
look at the insanity that is getting an organic label.
Sure. So getting an organic label is something I'm never going to do. Besides the fact it's extremely expensive, it's, you know, it's gotten very, like, large and commercialized, and ever since day one, it's been based around, hey, here's a way that we can just make a nice, easy label for companies to put on their product, and just basically it's like a sales thing. You know, it really didn't stick with the principles that most people think of when they think of organic, good for the earth, etc. And over the years, due to, you know, large corporate influence, they've really pulled back what the requirements are in the way of what you actually have to do in the way of farming, but not necessarily like what you have to do, like, to get the license. So it's just it just gets more expensive. A lot of inspections. You know, you can use Roundup, you can use plant killer, herbicides, stuff like that you wouldn't think you can use for organic. And a lot of the organic these days is coming from overseas, and it's harder to check, regulate, really know what you're getting. So I don't know if counterfeit's the right word, but you might be getting some counterfeit, you know, organic fruit or produce. It's totally possible.
Well,
I mean, it'd be totally possible coming from here too, but
I mean, how much do we know about, like, the olive oil industry and how,
or honey,
you
or
know,
whatever,
right? I mean, of course
Mhm.
it happens with organic. It has to. Like, it has to, especially, you know. Anyway, carry on. 'Cause you know more than I do.
Well, and some stuff, you know, like some stuff, if you know what you're shopping for, some stuff it might be really worth it to get organic. Something like potatoes where it's a root and it sucks up, whatever's in the ground. But something like onions, like there's really no need to get like organic like onions because onions don't really get pests. They don't use a lot of pesticides. So, you can be smart about it when you're shopping. It's, you don't have to be like just a psycho, like, oh, I'm not even going to wear polyester because it's, plastic or whatever. You can still be sensible about it. But yeah, for the most part, it's kind of nonsense. Now, there are some other options. Like there's something called Certified Naturally Grown, where it's a program. It costs like $100 a year. Farmers inspect other farmers, like in their area, and there's rules like you can't inspect the same farm twice. You guys can't inspect each other's farms, stuff like that. And it seems to be kind of cool. At least it's a little bit less expensive. My thing with everything is just like, man, I don't really care about a label or a certification. It's like, come visit the place. Like you have that option. I'll show you how I do things and you can decide, and that's any place that'll let me come visit and like check out how they do it is always like a big plus. That they're at least proud of what they do.
When I was doing my show, I had a guy on. He raised pork out in Arizona, and he basically, he kind of did it like, I don't know if organically is the right word, but he looked at getting certified and stuff, and it was just the cost put him out. Like it's already expensive to feed these hogs, like not on a dick ton of grain, but like just feed them and get them right. And that was basically his thing that put him out was the cost of doing organic. And it ends up, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to call it natural. And look, you want to buy my stuff? Come to the farm. Come check it out. See where this pig is living. See where these chickens are living. You want to come out on Butcher Day? Cool. Come on. Let's go. But when you open up and like, you let people see how it works, the way it works, it's got to be better. It's the only way.
Well, like you can be getting organic chicken from the store, and what does that mean? Organic free range chicken or whatever they call it. It doesn't mean that chicken's ever seen the light of day. It doesn't mean that chicken's ever eaten a blade of grass. It doesn't mean that.
They had a chance. They had a 3-foot window. There was some sunlight on the other end of the tunnel, and there was 3 feet of grass. It's not that chicken's fault. It was retarded and couldn't find the grass. Okay,
they only opened the door the last 2 weeks of its life. To even give it the option. But
hurry, fly away.
Yeah, but I mean that's one of the great examples of just how over the years it went from being like, okay, maybe they have to be outside to all the way to, well, how can we technically say maybe it's a little better? So when you go to the grocery store and get your organic stuff, that might be the case. You can't go visit the farm. You can't audit it, Nope. So you just never know. Now, on the other side of things, just to be devil's advocate-y, like if you are trying to eat a certain way and you're just out somewhere and you don't have the opportunity to go to a farm and buy produce from it, seeing an organic label can at least make you think, okay, it's probably closer to what I'm looking for, hopefully. So there is like that value to it, I guess. But it's, again, like Clyde was saying, it's really, really expensive, like for a farmer to get, not just to get the certification, but for the feed that it costs to feed the animals organic. The chicken feed, for me, if I want to do a straight organic, is like twice as much at least as conventional feed. Yeah,
it already costs a ton just to do it, and you want to throw that organic horse crap in there, and it's like it puts you out. And that's not you feed your licenses and all this stuff for what? Come look at my birds and you'll see that they're much happier in the grass, getting chased by hawks than getting chased by each other in these big nasty shelters. But it is an interesting point though about the if you're out, like kind of being able to recognize that label as organic, and okay, I'm at this restaurant or whatever, I stopped at the Quickie Lube for a little bit of gas and Slim Jim, and like which one's organic, right? Like I can get this organic Slim Jim and I'm still staying in my healthy parameters or whatever. I don't know.
Maybe slightly. Whatever the virtue is.
If you're looking for organic Slim Jims, I feel like you've made some poor life choices along the way to this.
You're still transitioning to being healthy, is what I meant. You know what I mean by that.
Do they make vegan Slim Jims yet? Can I get like a Beyond Meat Slim Jim?
Oh, somebody has to. Somebody has to make one of those. It might be. I mean, it can't be any worse than a regular Slim Jim.
Probably not.
So we were at Sam's Club a couple weeks ago, and they had the non-meat chicken nuggets, and I tried a bite of one. I spit it out. I couldn't do it. I tried really hard to chew it up and actually swallow it, and I couldn't do it.
You got to think about the old lady that just gave you that like chicken nugget and how bad you.
I waited until I got around
the
corner.
Ruined her whole
so
shift.
See me. It was an old lady, but like I waited until I got around the corner. She couldn't see me before I spit it out, but I couldn't do it. And I tried hard too. I'm surprised my wife didn't like video my face as I was attempting to get this thing down, because it was just so bad. I don't think I can do it. And having killed my own chickens and cooked my own chickens, and knowing what good raised with love and murdered with malice chicken tastes like I can't eat fake chicken. I just can't do it.
Can you describe it for the people out there? I've never had it personally, so I'm wondering if you can give me like a good description.
All right, so have you
Mark
ever
Twain-esque description of your?
Have you ever chewed on clover?
Clover?
Yeah.
Like the flower?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And have you ever eaten Play-Doh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was like clover flavored Play-Doh.
Interesting.
With breading on it.
Is that dry, huh?
It's just not good.
Huh.
Yeah.
You would have expected salted bean curd protein to be delicious, who knew?
No.
I really don't know if that's what it's made out of, but that sounds pretty close. I could sell that.
I don't know.
Probably close.
Yeah.
There's like a clever name for those. I don't remember what it is. It's like I saw like chicken nuggets, and it was like some clever punny name of like faux chicken or
that just
something.
Sounds Thai.
Yeah. Actually, that don't sound too bad. But like I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not good with puns.
My kid was in the car the other day asking me like what a pun was. He put it out there. It was totally not a pun, and I'm trying to explain it, and I sounded like the biggest dumbass in the world. Puns are like you ask me, and I can't think of it.
Yeah, it's hard to define a pun. You just gotta know when
you sounded like a dumbass, so you again were pretty well on brand.
Yeah,
it's good to know.
I keep it real.
So let's kind of pivot a little bit away from the seed and organic side of stuff, and talk a little bit about raising animals, because I know both of you have. Well, I know
too many animals.
We've all got too many animals. I don't even have that many, and I've got too many. So we've got a couple Nigerian dwarf goats and a handful of chickens, and probably going to expand to a couple hogs. And I would really like to get a cow, but I don't want to just buy a cow and then raise it to slaughter it. Like, I would like to breed, but I don't have enough room to breed.
Is your arm long
cows.
enough?
Yeah, I don't have enough room to do that, to do it well. So I probably will just buy a calf and then raise it with love and care, and then murder it with malice. That's kind of my thing.
That's tough.
And I've I don't know if I've talked about this on the other show, but like I've talked about this with Dag. Like the chickens, feathers and feathers are okay. Like it sucks. I don't like doing it. I can do it. It's easy enough. Chickens, turkeys, shoot a bird, whatever. They start getting fur and it gets harder. And I've done rabbits, and it's about the same time frame. Rabbits are around for like 8 to 12 weeks. Chickens are like 6 to 8 weeks. But it's the same time frame, same like loving and caring that you put into it. And they were always harder. I had to literally all day. Like I'd wake up in the morning and know that that night I had to butcher these rabbits, and it was just a whole process of stealing myself up for it, because it sucks. I don't like it. I know there's probably different ways of doing it. I'd, hold them by the scruff of the neck and basically just, blunt force trauma the back of their head, and that works. And that's one way to do it. And it sucks, but it's got to get done. We have a couple goats that are looking like they're about ready to butcher. One's about a year old, and he's probably a little bit older than he needs to be. And his sister is as well. And like, it's tough, man. It's really like, because we don't have a lot of goats. I think we had 8. We just had 8 more babies. So now we got 16. Maybe we had 9 or 10. I don't know. But, the point is, it's not a big herd, right? They're small. It's few enough numbers that you know which one is which. And, when they all have different color patterns, again, you know which one is which. It's easy when they're all white. You just, whatever, stupid white goats, and off they go. But so I don't know. And they have little like family bonds. Like they still like, despite being a year old, they still like sleep next to their mother. I'm like telling my wife, like, we can't do that. Like, that's mean. I can't do that. We need to get her pregnant and have more babies. So she like focus on these new babies and lets these 2 go. And she's just looking at me like I'm fucking nuts. Like, I'm like gonna give her the damn gun. You go do it. Like, I don't want to do this. But that's, that's part of it, I guess. That's part of all that's got to happen. Because eventually you run out of space, it gets too expensive, and that's the purpose, right? At the end of the day, that's the purpose, and it's so either I do it, or some Mexican in a chicken plant is going to do it, and I'm not deriding Mexicans, but somebody in like in a plant, right? Like that. Well, that like that's their job. They butcher 1,000 chickens in a day, and guess what? Nobody gives a shit. When I'm doing it, this is like I have feelings for this goat. So when I put it out of its misery, it'll be as best it can.
Well, obviously the difference is, the Mexicans, but you're slaughtering chickens in a plant. Those are, those got brought in on a truck and dumped in, and they're just, they don't have any investment in them.
That's exactly what I mean, right? And that's it. Like, there's no.
Granted, like every chicken that I've slaughtered, I didn't have much. I didn't have much of a feeling about it, but also they all decided that it was time to be assholes and peck me. And if you peck me, then you die. I'm kind of not discriminating on that. Like, yeah, don't be a peckerhead. Like, if I reach in to grab the feeder and you come running up and bite my hand, then I'm gonna grab you by the neck and pick you up and give you a good shake and set you to the side and finish feeding the rest of them that didn't feel like biting me, and then I'll deal with you in a minute. Like, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, there is a level of investment that, like, we've got a chicken that we've had her. She's the one we've had the longest, and if I walk up to her, she'll just sit down and let me pick her up. It's hey, and like I couldn't butcher her. There's no way. She's gonna get old and tough and just die on her own. Like, there's no way I could actually like butcher her. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
And I don't know what it is, and this is not where you want to go with the show, but like, I don't know what it is, like the value system, or like this idea that like, is it watching Disney films that's raised me to be like soft like this? Like, we have a couple of horses, and when they get old, like, I'm going to have to put them down, and that's going to suck ass. But at the end of that, like, if I wanted to, I could then turn that horse into 500 pounds of meat. But I'm not gonna, because that's weird to me. Like, I can tell you right now, that's not gonna happen. But I know people that do, and so, like, what is it? Why do I feel this way about like these 4-legged furry animals that? Like, they don't give a shit if I'm there. If I don't have food, they don't care. But I have like feelings for them. I'm sorry, Doug. What were you gonna say about animals?
No, if we're gonna go down this path, I totally hear you. I do the chickens, and the broiler chickens that all look the same. They're with you 6 to 8 weeks. It's not that bad. I think I heard you put it this way one time, and I feel the same way, where it's the first one of the day and the last one of the day, might be a little tough for whatever reason they stand out, right? But yeah, the bigger animals, like it's going to be hard with the goats because the goats are so damn adorable. But we're gonna have boy goats, if we're breeding these things, so it's going to have to happen. And I like the idea of having another like protein source on the farm, but it's going to be tough. We had a couple hogs that were with us for a while. They were supposed to breed, they didn't, and I shot the boy in the face, and it was tough, but it wasn't that bad. A couple years later, we had to do the female, and I just didn't want to do it. I sold her to a neighbor so that he could have her butchered, and he came and we loaded her up in a trailer, and it was sad, seeing her go, and like she looked back like, motherfucker, and got in the trailer, and like it was like I felt bad, I don't know, like I mean I felt bad like shipping her off like that, to go be killed, but just because I was too much of a pussy to do it, right? So yeah, man, I don't know. It's tough. The goats are going to be tough, but you get over it. Our first few chickens were difficult, and before we started doing the broilers, it'd be chickens that were with us for 6 months because they had to, get bigger, like doing the heritage breeds, and they all look unique. And yeah, you're with them long enough to develop personalities, and you just got to hope that the wife doesn't name them. And it's and there's just something weird. Like I think about like eating some of like my name birds that we had for years. It's like it doesn't feel good in your stomach when you think about it. Like it just sounds disgusting. And it's weird how appetite and stuff works like that. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but yeah, it's like a family member or something at that point. I'm a big softie with animals. So what can I say?
Yeah.
Did I tell you all about the last one that I butchered? The last chicken?
Kid?
No, the last chicken. So it was a male one. I had actually named it.
He was a bastard, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a super bastard. He was like basically raping all the females and being an asshole around the yard. And so as he was out there like just walking it up and being king asshole, I saw him and I just like decided, okay, it's time to be done with this fucker. So I grabbed the little hand tool that we use like in the garden and just went over and knocked him down and whacked his head off with it. And then took him over and started dressing him out, not realizing that the kids had a friend over who was in the pool and just witnessed me march out into the yard and murder a chicken in the middle of the yard and then start skinning it up. She's like, "Did he just kill a chicken?" Oh, that's awesome! And then she comes stands next to me and watches me dress him out and everything. It's like, "Oh,
nice.
Hi, Jenny. Didn't realize you were here." And like the kids are used to seeing me murder chickens, but random neighbor kid, not so much accustomed to that. So do y'all do you defeather or do you just skin them?
I was about to ask you the same thing. A chicken like that, a heritage breed, I might look into skinning, but I have a plucker machine now. I invested in a plucker machine. It's the best damn thing in the world, man.
How much did she cost? I thought you guys just got married. I didn't know you paid for her.
What's that?
Yeah, I've got
the plucker machine.
I've got a really nice knife set for that. That'll get right up under that breastplate and pull the skin away. I do not like or have any interest in defeathering, so I just take the skin off entirely.
If you're not going to scald it, then there's no point in trying to defeather it. And if you're just doing one, there's no point in scalding it.
Do you really need?
Yeah, like I don't.
With meat birds, do you need to have a special tool to skin it? I feel like I work to try to not skin it.
This knife set is for like meat cutting, so it's like for whenever I skin a deer or something like that. So, but it works just as well for chickens for taking the skin off. Like it has the right angles on the blade that it's easy to get up underneath that breastplate and just peel the skin away and without having to fight with it. Because I've done it with just a regular good knife, and it can be a pain in the ass. But I feel like the right knife for the job is important.
Yeah, always
the right tool.
Well, doing the broiler chickens, like equipment wise, can be one of the more, pricier things for like rabbits or something. because like in order to be like profitable, you're doing a plucker machine, which wasn't bad. I think it cost me like $400 or $500 delivered to my door. It's amazing, and I really, being like an economics nerd, I teared up when like it arrived, and I just started thinking about the fact that like this item that was made, from parts from like 6 continents, all coming to, an eye pencil kind of scenario, all coming together to build this thing that allows me to lower my prices enough to allow so many people to afford my products, and it was like, it's just so beautiful, and it was all done by voluntary cooperation and blah, blah, blah. And oh man, it's so fucking great. But anyhow, it's the only reason that I can do it, like be like profitable, is having like that piece of like mechanization. My next step will be getting like a better scalding system that takes a little less personal attention per bird. But we're working on it. We get a little more practice with every batch we do, and we add one more item or cut something a little bit differently or make an improvement, every time. And we're getting there. It's just, it can be tough to scale because obviously sales, you have to like scale with sales, and you kind of have to estimate because they're products that you have to set up months in advance. So that's got some of the challenges, but we're learning.
What is it? What's it like for licensing? Do you have is there a cap on the number that you can produce before you have to?
So in Florida, with what's called the limited poultry permit, you can do, it's like 300 and something meat birds a week, whatever that works out to.
Wow.
Like 20,000 or something.
Hot
and
shit, no way.
But you can only do 30 dozen eggs a week, which seems like an odd ratio between the two. But you're allowed to do like 300 and something meat birds. It's pretty easy in Florida. Okay. I think it was like 2013 they allowed this permit. They allowed people to sell eggs to the neighbors. But it's like $110 a year. I consider it a small bribe. And they leave me alone unless there's a complaint against me. So, which is, on the one hand, like, okay, cool system. Yeah, they don't mess with you unless somebody has a complaint, which seems valid. But of course, the downside of that is they have these rules in place because, they don't want you to be a competitor to the big guys. But any of the big guys, if they see you're a competitor, or they think you are, they can just pick up the phone and make a complaint about you, whether it's true or not. And cause problems.
I mean, and I've lamented to you about this, but I'm here in Georgia, and we're like the number 2, number 3 state, like chicken producing state in the country. And like the hoops I would have to go through to sell like some chicken it's like crazy. Like I have to have somebody out here to inspect. I have to have like a separate drainage system. I have to like all these things, like temperature controlled rooms, like all this stuff to set up to sell like any birds. And then I forget what the number is. I don't know if it's like 1 or 10,000. I don't think it's 10,000. I think it's lower than that. But after that, then it's like this. Then you become something else, and then the restrictions are even more stringent. Whereas someplace in like Vermont, like you could sell up to 1,000 birds, and no one cared anything about it. It's your discretion. Go ahead, sell 1,000 birds. You're not going to get rich doing that, but you can pay for your own meat that way for sure.
In fairness, here you're supposed to have like a lot of stuff: drainage systems, slab, septic, 5 sinks. But unless there's a complaint against you, they don't inspect.
Okay.
So I don't know how it works up there. I'm not going to say any more on that, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at.
No, they want to come look, and they
really. That sucks.
That's what one thing says. You set a time to come look or something like that.
So my initial inspection, they came to my front gate, and that was the inspection. They didn't come on the property and look around at all, but that was the initial inspection. Now the only reason that I have let's say a neighbor who told me that that's how it works around here, so I sort of rolled the dice, to be honest. Let's see how it goes. So, but again, I don't know how it is up there, but I'm just saying, just what it says. The rules are depending on your area. It's sometimes they're a little. I feel like they make these concessions to us just to say, okay, we'll throw you a bone. It gets keeps a few things out of court for people who want to protest that they won't allow us to sell this. But it's still like I don't know. The people in Florida, the people I talk to who run this stuff, they don't know anything about it. Like they don't know anything how it works. They're just like, okay, whatever, here's your thing. I tried asking the inspector questions about it. She had no idea. She's like, whatever's on the website. And there's like 13 bullet points on the website. That's it. And they're kind of vague. So it says you can't sell online, but it doesn't say what that means.
So that was something
can't put your chickens on Amazon, bro.
Yeah.
So talking about that side of it, that was something that I saw in the grain side of things a lot. Specifically when we had to deal with OSHA, but even when we were dealing with like USDA, FDA type of stuff, like the people who are working with these government agencies that are doing the inspections and doing the checks, who are like supposed to be holding you accountable, don't know a single fucking thing about what they're talking about. They don't know anything about the process. Like they would come to the grain elevator and they didn't know the first thing about how the testing process worked, about anything. Like I would be surprised if these bastards had ever actually seen real corn in person. Except for like on the rare occasion when they show up at the grain elevator, like it was
on
ridiculous.
TV.
This is not a defense of them, but I mean, yeah, isn't that expected? They went to school to become, ingratiated into the state, and this was the job they got, and they've never stepped foot outside. They've been in the classroom, studying all these books on how, I don't know, diseases are bad or something, or whatever the hell it is they do. Here's code 1.23 AB, suck a dick. Like, that's what they know. They don't know in anything in reality, in actual physical world being. It's paper pencil pushing nerds. I mean, they're just happy you feed them.
Busybodies, man. Yeah, but
so you all have to deal with. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying to that point, yeah, like when I had an issue here with code enforcement, I mean, they're awful people, but like he used to be a cop, and they're just not. They're not human, dude. It's so weird. What a weird person to want to be some job like that. I don't
Super
know.
Karens.
So yeah.
I was gonna say, do y'all on the scale that you're on have to deal with OSHA or anything like that, like ever?
I don't have employees or anything.
No.
My kids
nice. Don't collect.
Yeah. And I mean, I've if I have help, they're not, an employee or whatever. And that's ideally it'll stay that way. I mean, hey, I'd love to be able to get big enough to have actual employees, right? But I'm hoping to keep my business model to where it can be me and some occasional volunteer help, and the wife and any kids that Clyde, feels like need like a work camp to set them straight for the summer.
Seriously, I'll send them there, man. Make them fight manatees and pluck your chicken.
You see, go send them even further south. I think it's hot here.
Yeah,
it might be hot where you are. I don't know.
That's very fortunate. Like we had to deal with in the grain industry. We had to deal with OSHA semi-regularly, and then every company that I worked for had a safety department and an engineering department and all these other departments, and none of them actually did the job or knew jack fucking shit about running a grain elevator or handling grain or any of that stuff. So you would always run into, like, the safety guy would say, well, we need to do this and this and this to be OSHA compliant. And I'm like, okay, like as soon as you do that, you've created 4 more safety hazards by taking away the one. Like, do you not actually understand how this works, or have you never actually loaded a barge or done maintenance work on a grain elevator in any way? And of course the answer is no. Like, they never even stepped foot out of their fucking office, much less been on a barge. They probably don't know what the damn thing looks like. Like, so I guess the smaller you are, the less likely you are to have to deal with some of that bullshit. But like coming from the industry I came from, because small farms are actually
pestilence.
I guess I'm trying to think of statistically, small farms are very dangerous. There are a high number of accidents that happen on small farms, and usually when an accident
on the job.
Well, and usually when an accident happens, it's usually really bad. So it like the death rate to accident rate looks really bad, and because that's part of the agricultural like blanket that the government puts it all under, people in like the field that I came from, the more industrial agricultural field, even though literally any grain company that you go to in the United States, their RPI is 0.8 or less. Like, the working in the grain industry is one of the safest. Working in the grain industry is one of the safest industries that you can work in if you're at a corporate level. But because so many farm accidents happen, it's extremely heavily regulated by OSHA, and so it's tough. It's tough to get around that kind of stuff, and so there's always like a lot of eyeballs on it. So anytime something even really minuscule happens in a grain elevator, it gets blown way out of proportion for no more reason than because the industry is really closely watched by OSHA, and the industry is only really closely watched by OSHA because of like fringe bullshit that doesn't have anything to do with the larger industry as a whole. So yeah, if y'all don't have to deal with that, you're lucky.
Like, that's the thing. Like, that's a perfect example of like OSHA and why OSHA is like the most ridiculous thing. Like, oh, but the code says we need to fix this, and like, yeah, that's what the code says. But guess what, dipshit? Like, if you do that, then we have this problem and that problem and that problem. And like, there's no, it's all paper. Everything looks great. You can do anything you want on paper. You can do anything you want, but you put it into practice and forget it. Like, this shit falls apart. And that's how I don't know.
Well, it's the way that even the way you said it, Justin, is like, okay, we're lucky we don't have to deal with it, which you're right, but that's like the reason that I want to stay small enough to where I don't have to deal with it. But it's, of course, my, cronius conspiracy mind is always, well, yeah, that's why OSHA exists, is to keep me small, right? Keep me from having the ability to grow unless I want to invest tons of money. Because of course, these big, the big companies that, run the industrial agriculture, I don't know about how big the company was that you worked for or anything, but they hire people to handle that kind of shit, but it keeps competition out, for them. And that's just, anytime I see some shit like that, I'm like, yep, just trying to keep the little guy down, but that's why I want to stay small, because I want to avoid that shit. So you can say it's working, but I also don't have super high ambitions, in general. So. I don't want to work 60 or 70 hours a week in a fucking office. I don't want to do that. I'd rather butcher my own chickens, or at least assist in the process, or whatever. I want to be involved. I want to enjoy my job. So, in life.
Yeah, I was never really the sit in the office type when I was in in that industry and in those jobs. I was much more of a hands-on type. I enjoyed the work because I grew up on a farm. Like, I liked being around grain and learning about that side of the industry because I grew up on a farm, and because I saw like my dad and my granddad on the farm every day, and kind of the way that was, and especially the way that like their attitudes about markets and the grain elevators and stuff were, and then getting to go and work on the other side of it and see how the markets work and how the end product side of it works. Like, getting to understand both sides of it was really interesting for me, and really kind of drove me to be good, because on the one side I understood like the big corporation government regulation, Chicago Board of Trade, everything that's going on that side of it. But I also grew up with a conspiracy theorist father, and my granddad who would have just farmed until he went broke, and seeing that side of it and understanding the way that the farmer thinks as well, and like getting to put the two worlds together was a lot of fun and interesting for me, because like even today I can understand why my dad gets pissed off about stuff that the grain elevator does, but at the same time I understand why the grain elevator does it, because they have government regulations and all kinds of other bullshit that they have to deal with if they don't do it. So like, if you do it, the farmer's pissed off at you. If you don't do it, the government's pissed off at you, and the government's going to fine you. So, like, what do you do?
I don't know.
It's definitely interesting being like from that side, because that's, I didn't necessarily grow up in like much. I kind of grew up in the country or whatever, but like I didn't really grow up in much agriculture. Mine getting into it like a decade ago was more like hippie-ish kind of. I'm gonna grow organic veggies and this and that, and my thoughts and goals have evolved a little bit, but yeah, definitely different from like a commodity kind of thing. Like we didn't raise cattle or whatever as a kid, or people grow corn down here that much, certain areas. But it's funny. Like when I drove through, like, I don't know, Illinois and Indiana and stuff for the first time, just like the huge, like just vast expanses of corn is crazy. Never seen anything like it. And we have big orange groves and stuff, but nothing like that.
It sounds disgusting.
Yeah. Seems a little unnecessary.
Giant cornfields or giant orange groves?
Are you slandering oranges?
No. The first time I went to Florida and saw them raise a big truck up and just watch the oranges roll out of it, it's like, what the? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Impressive. Like,
it's somebody's job to spray them with a water cannon and spray them out of the truck too. So it looks like fun. The packing houses or whatever.
Have y'all ever been out to
the racist
Colorado?
white guys take that job?
Never been.
No.
Have you ever been out to Colorado and see the way they have to irrigate everything? So the only thing, like all of their fields are circular because it's the pivot. So like as you're flying
Central pivot irrigation.
Yeah. So like as you're flying over in the airplane and you're like looking out the window, you see all these like perfect squares with this big circle in the middle of it that has crops in it. Like it's really weird and kind of beautiful at the same time. But like my brain coming from the South where like you are literally spend your winter with a bush hog and chainsaw, like cutting the tree lines back so that you can get more room to plant, and seeing a square field with just a big circle in the middle. It's like, oh my God, look at all that wasted space on the corner. It's like, what are they doing here? This is ridiculous.
Math
really kind of cool.
I saw one the other day, central pivot, but on the end it had a sprinkler that shot out to the side. So on the corners, the sprinkler would kick on, and you could get a little bit of that corner carved out. Because my OCD hates the circle with the corners that you don't. I hate it, But I saw a sprinkler and I was like, all right, good deal.
There's a math problem there. All that area wasted, How much?
Just need a little tiny pivot that runs right there.
Yeah.
Then you can have a little circle.
Then you got to put
between
another
the big
well
circles.
in. You got to put another well in.
You pipe it right, you don't.
Piping anything down here is all clay and bullshit. The first time I saw those things, because up in New England we didn't have those. Down here we do have those, and it was just like very curious to see it actually like kind of moving. Like I go here and then come back like 3 hours later and it's like moved, and like there's a tread, like there's a track where there's no corn or cotton growing where the tire goes, and it's like, oh wow. Or to see like the tractor that picks up the cotton, not the I don't know what the hell it is. He drives through the cotton and he picks it all up. But they have these like
the cotton picker.
I guess. I mean, are they allowed to
That's
drive?
the
I don't
technical
know.
name for it. It's just a cotton picker. Like that's not racist to say that. You can just call it a cotton
picker. I don't know. I don't really like to say calling anybody a cotton picker or cotton picking. I just tend to stay away from it.
We have a different.
But it has these. Has these big plastic things on front of the tires, right? And I'm looking at them driving down the road. I'm like, what is that? And then I saw them going through one day, and I like put it on the. I'm like, no way. So they go through and like must like push the crops to the side, and then they don't trample as much. And it was like I never saw this before. I never, freaking tractors with tires that are like 12-foot tires driving down the road. I mean, it's insane. It's freaking insane. And here I am trying to kill a chicken.
Does make you feel insignificant.
I'm sorry, Billy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
y'all
I
got
hear
anything
ya.
else? Y'all got anything else to add to the conversation? We're running at an hour, and I promise to let y'all get to bed so that you can show up bright and early tomorrow morning for our actual show. And who knows, Mark is around, so maybe he'll even show up in the morning too. I mean, unless he's chasing the
You're
quarterback,
not
then,
around.
Dude,
then
that was so
all bets are off.
it was so funny when he popped in and you could just see his face. It was like a scary movie, something or other. I was
It's
like,
like-
dude, that's a cool effect. How's he doing that?
Like some
think that's-
Ginger Maylard Manson over there.
Yeah.
Paste and like that's it. You know?
It's the last thing you see before you get murdered jogging.
Seriously, he's about to murk me right now on camera. He's waiting for me to shut it down.
Oh, so
Cool.
for anybody
Yeah.
who doesn't already watch our morning show, be sure to check us out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the morning after. You got to hit me up for a link because until we hit 100 subscribers, I can't set the custom URL. So if you're not already subscribing, go subscribe so we can get that custom URL, and then you don't have to sift through the 733 million the morning after other videos that exist out there. There's only one the morning after channel, but there are so many videos you can't find us because apparently those are all sponsored and we're not. Fuck you, YouTube. Yeah, that's right.
Can you make like a Bitly link or something for the boomers like me that can't ever find it, even when we've subscribed?
You know, I've already been told that I need to do a link tree for my show, so I may as well do something.
What is a link tree?
That's where. Is this part of the bit? This is not the right show for the bit. You do that on the on the other show. We'll talk about it in the morning.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank y'all for coming on. This was great. I like talking about ag stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Because I have a passion about it, because I grew up on a farm, because I spent so many years in the industrial agricultural industry. Like, I really like talking about this stuff. I really like talking about ag policy and stuff like that, because everything that the federal government is involved in as far as agriculture is related, they could not be further from getting it right. And the average person has absolutely no idea. So, like, more conversations about ag policy and how just completely ass backwards it is. Like, I feel like that's stuff that I could do every week, because like the ag policy that is ass backwards, like talking about the GMO stuff, and like there is so much, and people have no idea.
That's it, man. Like, it goes deeper than like. I used to teach in Brooklyn, and I remember kids like not knowing where ketchup came from, not knowing that like ketchup is tomatoes and this is a vegetable and it grows on a sort of like a vine, like no clue, and like you hear guys like that Cyprian Vin Armani talk about the dim age and technology and like all these things we don't know, and like, dude, we have people that don't know where the hell their food comes from or how it's even grown. Like, that is, to me, like the food aspect of life is one of the most important things. Like, just that nourishment and just, God, it's mind-numbing.
Well, then people don't know, and it's like, man, if they did know that like Bayer bought Monsanto, so it's like, oh, big pharmacy and like big chemical are the ones who own all your seeds, all the all the food you eat comes from them, and like people don't realize, oh, it's like these people who you would probably consider kind of evil, if you knew this, they are responsible for all of your nutrition. That is insane.
They're gonna own your kids if you both got the vax.
I'm gonna get you.
Well, I'm telling you, man, it's gonna come out in a little while. They're gonna own your body because they implemented some sort of IP tech into your body.
So 16 million Americans believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows, and
we talked about this on the morning after. That's true.
And roughly 48% of all people don't know where chocolate milk comes from. Like, they're not sure. It's a mystery.
I'm gonna go get some chocolate milk.
I'm gonna have me a glass of chocolate milk in the morning. Actually, I'm gonna have a cup of coffee with some Irish cream mixed in it, but whatever. We'll get to that in the morning.
You're
Guys,
for chocolate
thank you
milk
so much
anything?
for coming on.
Fine. Cut me off.
Yeah.
I hate you too.
You can talk more in the morning. I'll let you open the show. How about that? If you
we
show
did
up
that
on
last week. Don't do that.
Sal and Mark run the show Friday, and it was an abject disaster. So, oh, thanks, guys. This has been a blast. If y'all ever have
Thanks for
something you
having
want to
me on,
talk about
Justin.
again, let me know, and we will do it again.
Hell yeah, man.
And for everybody
So-
else, tune back in next Monday for the next episode of the show where I talk about whatever I come up with between now and then. Hopefully it'll be good.
AIDS.
Maybe it won't. You never know. See y'all.
Peace.